Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to look at the weekly metagame breakdown for the standard best of one format. If you want to know whether the best decks taking you up to mythic rank to get you a high rank that are kind of the tier 1, tier 2 decks of the format, check out this video. We'll cover them all here. We're going to get the data from MTGA, what you see on the screen, companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client. If you want to track your win rates, see stats, link for Untapped in the video description. I'll also put all these deck lists in the video description. They'll be timestamped. While you're there, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are closing in on almost 1,000 away from 20,000. I'm trying to hit that by the end of the summer. So greatly appreciate it if you can. It's free on YouTube, unlike Twitch. So subscribe, helps out. Greatly appreciate it if you can. Like, comment, the whole jazz there. So we're going to look at the popularity of the day, and then we'll look at the win rates. I'm doing a 55% win rate cap. So if a deck is not shown up here, you don't need to comment in why didn't you include XYZ. It's under 55% right now. Battlecry or Pixie are two of the ones that kind of stood out as being below. The Orzhov Sephiroth Sacrifice deck also below the 55% mark this week. So jumping into it, Jeskai Artifacts, or really Azorius Synthesizer with the Fire Emblem or Fire Crystal, whatever it's called, is at 10%, Boros Burn at 10%, Mono White Lifegain at 8.5%, Mono Green Landfall at about 8%, Gruul Landfall. So the Landfall decks are actually making about 14% of the meta. The Gruul version is playing for World Souls Rage, but the World Souls Rage version is doing worse this week than the Mono Green one. So the Mono Green one was over the 55% win rate, so we'll take a look at there. Mono Red at 6, Esper Mill at 5, and Mono Black Demons at 4. So if we're looking Diamond and Mythic, August 9th through the 16th, filming this Saturday night, so it'll be up Sunday morning. 180,000 games played of Magic Best of 1. So highest win rate deck is Mono White Lifegain, 67%, and I think a card that's going to help. We lost Knight Errant of Eos, which was one of the key cards for the deck. Just allowing you to refill your hand. So this deck can put out some big power, but you are a mono white deck at the end of the day. A creature pile, so you're not really drawing stuff. Halia, I really like this card. I'm going to try it in Historic for the Boros Energy deck, but itself, and whenever another creature enters, you gain a life, so the Soul Warden style effect. But notably, if you gain 3 or more life, doesn't care how you gained it, as long as you gained it, you get to draw a card on your end step, which is pretty powerful. This. You could also warp it, so it's a 1-drop that can gain you a life. So you can kind of multi-spell on 2, and then it goes into exile, and then so it gives you some flexibility in terms of when you're casting it. You have your Pridemate package, Johnny's Pridemate, Essence Chandler, both allow you to scale and get bigger. This version here, Valor's Stance is fine. It's not always guaranteed removal, but it can also provide indestructible, so I can see it. I don't really get the Gallant Strike. It's very situational in terms of the removal. I would probably just play Get Lost if you want another removal spell here, or just play like the 4th Hinterland Sanctifier. But a bunch of cheap creatures that gain you life, things that grow bigger. Once you have 27 or more life, your creatures get a boost. And then Exemplar of Light can also gain you a bunch of card advantage through its ability. This one's got Lupin Flower Village. So incidentally, you got a lot of bats, birds, and rabbits. So bird, rabbit, bat, bat. So it's some card advantage kind of stapled into your mana base as well. Jeskai Artifacts is similar to Rakdos Aggro when it plays one card that you never actually typically cast, but it's tutorable with like the Fling package. This one's at 67%. So built around Simulacrum Synthesizer. So this one here cares about artifacts coming into play. 3 CMC or more, and then it makes you a bunch of constructs, very strong. Repurposing Bay lets you tutor for artifacts, so sack something at 2 mana, find a 3-drop, plays really nicely with like your removal and Spring Gloated Saw Blades. Cryogen Relic basically draws a card coming in, draws a card going out, so it provides you some card advantage. Clayfire Breaks helps you hit lands. You have Pinnacle Star Cage as an exile effect, kind of temporary lockdown adjacent. Perleus Snares, targeted removal. Braided Net kind of taps down stuff, and then the United Battlefront finds you your pieces. I still think that this Uthros is completely useless in the deck. You generally are not going to be, like, I would imagine, casting multiple spells per turn. So I would just I would not play it. It just is a tap line in the deck. If you're going to play a tap line, I would play another Meticulous Archive just to kind of fix your mana. There's better lines, I think, in this shell. Fire Crystal's played in here because you can go to 4 and then it hastes out all your constructs. If you want to see a different take on Jeskai Artifacts, I put out an off-meta video. It's for best of 3 decks, but there's a Jeskai Weapons manufacturing deck that's not synth based. It's basically a combo deck that makes a bunch of artifact munitions tokens and then sacrifices them all at once at instant speed to kill your opponent. So that deck's really cool if you want to check the off-meta video. We have 4-color Omni Science, 64%. So Kona Chameleon will come into play. And with this deck here, you tap it with the planet. So in this deck, planets make more sense because you want to tap your Kona. Your Kona then is tapped, second main phase. You get to put into play Omniscience, and then you can combo off. So you are playing Sarima in here is another way to tap your Kona, but notably it lets you tutor legendaries. So your legendaries can be Kona, obviously for the combo. Prime Speaker Zagana can draw you a bunch of cards with Omniscience out. The loop to win is 2 Meringue River Regents and Overlord of the Boiler Bridges. You basically bounce the meringues to each other, and then you shoot your opponent for 4. Someone pointed out in the video last week that, what's her name? The Gruul legendary that makes meteorites. I'm forgetting the name now. But that one there is better because it's a legendary creature, and Sarima can find it where it can't find it on Boiler Bridges. The Vanille is one that you can get going in the loop to help you mill into the combo pieces you need. Jill is also another way it's kind of redundancy for the Meringue River, and then it's also tutorable. Voice helps you kind of go through the combo without interaction, and then Seam Rip, early removal, consult the star charts, stock up in here to kind of fill your hand in that regard. Boros Burn. So there's kind of 2 variants. There's one that's just lower to the ground, just full set of Ember Hearts instead of the Nova Hellkites. They're also playing Grease Wrench Goblin instead of Lightstall Inquisitor. This one is a little more white focused, but just a lot of burn. Lightning Helix, Boros Charm, Bolt Wave, Burst Lightning, just lots of ways to point damage to the face. Nova Hellkite, just an explosive amount of damage, 4 damage for 3 mana, can incidentally take out 1 toughness creatures. And then Opera Love Song for some card advantage. Nemesis, really nice, you can just ping it. And unfortunately this is target opponent. It'd be really cool if you could target your own Screaming Nemesis with it just to get some added value out of it. But mono red shell with white cards to give you added kind of burn and flexibility in terms of your removal options. Dimir Midrange, 61%. So the big flex spots in these are usually the 3 drops. This one's seeing Tashana's Tidebinder and Faebloom Trick. Faebloom's very good in the mirror because there's a lot of X1s. We've got a couple Cecils, Phantom Interferences, cheap counters, Spyglass Siren, and then just a bunch of removal, Tragic Trajectory, Shoot the Sheriff, Nowhere to Run, Bitter Tribe. So lots of ways to deal with the aggressive decks, and then you refill your hand with Curiosity, cheat in an early Kaido, and just tap down and control your opponent's board. Mono green Landfall, 61%. So this deck here cares about lands coming into play to give you landfall triggers. So you have the little baby Chocobo. This one just comes in, gets counters every time a land comes into play. Tifa Lockhart doubles for power every time a land comes into play. And then Mossborn Hydra comes in with 1 counter. And then every time a land comes into play, you put more counters on it. It doubles it. And then you're playing Evolving Wild, Fabled Passage, Escape Tunnel, just cheap kind of fetch lands, if you would, that enable it. Bristly Bill puts counters on things when lands come into play. Springloom Druid is basically you sack a land and go find 2 lands. Traveling Chocobo is kind of an engine card of the deck. Lets you play lands or birds off the top of your library. And then if a landfall trigger comes in, it doubles the trigger. So Tifa, Mossborn gets double triggers in that case. Or Deal of Annihilea is a really cool one in here because oftentimes your creatures will have counters on them. And then when it attacks, if it's the 3rd counter put onto it, you sack it and find 2 lands, so it gives you some more landfall triggers. Bushwhack is landfall, finding lands as well as fight, hard-hitting questions fight, Snakeskin Veil for protection in the deck. Orzhov Bats, so another deck playing Halia, and then we have Zorlin in here, just a bunch of ways to kind of gain life. So this deck here, you have Cases, Hinterland Sanctifiers, Resolution Raid, Runelurker Bat. I don't know why this deck feels like it has more cards than 60. 31, 33, 35, 60. Okay. So Sheltered by Ghosts is 3 of Starscape Cleric. I think there's ways to kind of curate this deck a little bit more. Probably get rid of the Requisition Raid and then play like true up numbers of some of these cards could be good. Breed's Gambit could probably be cut along with Smiles at Death. So like trim these two, play full Sheltered, full Essence Chandler, full Starscape Cleric, probably full Lunar Concoction. Concoction. What am I saying? It is late, as you can tell. You probably also want the full set of Bleach Verge. So this is a deck that's putting up some results, but it's something that I think can be refined a little bit more in that regard. Mono Black Sacrifice. So 57%. So Sephiroth said, goodbye, white cards. We are only playing black cards. And we have Phyrexian Arena for some card advantage in here. Timeline Color is a nice one to play with your Sephiroth. It is 2 mana, 2/2 haste, and then you can warp it from your graveyard by paying 2 life. So keeps coming back, sacrifice, you get the value that way there. Umbral Caller Zealot's another sack outlet. Vengeful Blood Witch, Blood Artist effect, gain and drain. You have Corrupted Conviction as kind of a Village Rite style effect. Embrace Oblivion as removal. Forsaken Miner and Sephiroth, how it works. Each time it dies, it's a crime trigger because it targets your opponent. So for every instance of kind of a sack outlet, Sephiroth, and Forsaken Miner, you get to pay 1 black mana, get it back, sack it, get it back, and then just do a bunch of drain that way there. Greedy Freebooter, Infestation Sage, just creatures that when they die, you get some value out of them. Dimir Mill, 57%. So this deck is a pseudo 2-card combo. You Singularity Rupture, sweep your opponent's board, mill half their library. Once half the library is milled, you cast River Churn Monument, already have it in play, and then you exhaust it. And then it basically mills cards equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard. So half goes from the Singularity, the other half through River Churn. Your opponent's deck is gone, you get the mill achievement. And then the deck itself's just got like duresses, counters, consult and stock up for card advantage, a whole bunch of sweepers to kind of keep you alive. Iron Crag to help you ramp, and then Nowhere to Run as removal. Divert Disaster is a cheap counter that can also help you find landers. And so it's just like kill stuff and then eventually mill your opponent out. VV Cauldron, the boogeyman of the format in best of 3. So those unfamiliar, if you haven't seen this, which I'm surprised if you haven't, but if you've been lucky, VV going under the Cauldron. This allows each of your creatures with counters to have VV's ability to add mana. So based on their power, so it just generates a whole bunch of mana that way there. You're otherwise just drawing, discarding with things like Fear of Missing Out, Tersa, Winter Night Story, Steamcore Scholar, putting a bunch of counters on creatures, and then kind of churning through, playing a bunch of spells per turn. And then just you can haste out teams. You can make it so each of your creatures can create dragons. Just very, very powerful strategy. We have Gruel Delirium. So this here, 56%. So this deck here cares about getting 4 types in your graveyard. And there's kind of an Ember Cleave at home. If you have Delirium, Violent Urge gives a creature double strike. And then if you overprotect it, just gives a huge power boost, trample, or just on like Wildfire Worker Folk naturally with trample. You can haste out things with like Breakout, which is strong. The one thing I would say is I usually play 3 copies of Violent Urge, and I wouldn't play 4 Tersas. I'd probably play 2 Screaming Nemesis, or even the red vehicle that can be played out of your graveyard from exile. I think that one's pretty strong in the deck as well. But I would kind of mix it up like that. But very explosive deck that kind of gets shit on in best of 3 because of so much VV playing the graveyard hate. But this is a deck I have in paper. I really like playing it. It has some very explosive turns to it. And then lastly, we have Azorius Control, 56%, just made the cut. This deck here, we got Ultimas, we got Day of Judgments, whole bunch of counters, cheap interaction. We have Seam Rip, Cathar Commando in here, destroys artifacts or enchantments at flash speed, can be a win condition. Stock up Consulted Star Charts as Card Advantage, Elspeth, Boomerang, and Overlord on the top end. Some Fountain Ports, Restless Anchorage as utility lines, and win conditions. That's it for the week. Let me know what you've been playing, what you've been liking, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for watching.